I'm Maya Collins, 28, a nurse in Chicago, living in a family where love came with conditions. My parents kept score like a game, and I was always losing. At family dinners, they'd smile for the camera while their comments felt like tiny cuts. One kid got all the sunshine, the other me got leftover rain. My brother received everything on a silver plate, a brand new truck worth thousands, fancy trips to beaches, and parents who clapped for his every breath. Me? I got stuck paying his hospital bills from a motorcycle crash, over $18,000 that ate my paycheck like a hungry monster while I worked double shifts helping sick people get better. A certificate for saving a child's life during an emergency, a thank you letter from hospital leaders, years of perfect work nobody in my family seemed to notice. But my brother's new leather jacket costing over $2,000? That deserved a celebration dinner. Every time they praised him and ignored me, it felt like being invisible in my own home. But I wasn't giving up. I was making a secret plan. Every bit of money I hid away was helping me get closer to escape, closer to a new life across the country in Seattle, a place where their words couldn't find me. Before we jump in, leave a comment down below. Tell me where you're watching from and what time it is right now. I want to see how many different places around the world the story reaches. Every penny I saved felt like building wings to fly away. I remember sitting in a small office, holding a pen that felt heavy, signing papers that made me responsible for Jake's medical bills. The person at the desk looked confused, probably wondering why I was paying for someone else's mistakes. The $18,000 debt was from his accident, from him showing off on a motorcycle without proper insurance. But Mom and Dad said family helps family, so it became my problem. My own bank account was nearly empty. My tiny apartment barely had furniture. But somehow I was the one fixing his mess. Every 2 weeks, $520 disappeared from my salary, like a rope tying me to their wishes. I felt angry inside, knowing Jake would never pay me back, and Mom and Dad would never ask him to. Jake, who's 31 now, walked through expensive stores like he owned them, buying fancy watches and designer shoes that cost more than my monthly rent. His newest buy, a $2,800 gaming computer, showed up all over his social media with words saying winners win. Mom called him ambitious. Dad said he was smart with opportunities, like my 70-hour weeks at the hospital saving lives meant absolutely nothing. They'd gather at Sunday dinners praising his expensive toys while I sat quiet, my hard work invisible as air. His lifestyle wasn't success, it was pretending built on my money. At the hospital, I gave everything to my patients. 2 months ago, my supervisor pulled me aside with actual happiness in her eyes. "Maya, you're becoming head nurse with a pay increase," she announced. I'd created a new system for organizing medicine that prevented dangerous mistakes, and the hospital directors were impressed. I left that meeting feeling 10 feet tall, thinking maybe just maybe Mom and Dad would finally be proud of me. I was completely wrong. I told them during breakfast, waiting for a hug or kind words. Dad barely looked up from his phone. "That's fine, but Jake got picked to train new employees at his job." Mom jumped in quickly. "He's going to be somebody important, Maya. You should watch how he does things." My stomach hurt like I'd been punched, their response making my achievement feel small and worthless. My success, my years of helping people, turned into background noise. That evening, I heard them talking on the phone to Jake, their voices full of warmth and excitement. "You're doing amazing things," Dad said loudly. "We wish Maya would work as hard as you do." Work as hard? I was exhausted from saving lives, forced to pay Jake's bills while they called him a superstar. Mom's voice drifted through the walls. "Maya needs to support this family better." Support better? I'd given everything, my savings, my time, my happiness. Their constant comparisons weren't just mean, they were lies. I sat alone in my living room staring at the bill payment papers, my name a symbol of their control over me. I wasn't their safety net anymore. I opened my computer, searching for nursing jobs in Seattle. The city's beautiful mountains and ocean views called to me like a promise of freedom. Hospitals there needed experienced nurses, jobs offering salaries that could pay for a small apartment near the water. I looked at websites showing cost of living, $2,400 for a one-bedroom place, $150 for electricity and water, $350 for health coverage. It seemed expensive, but I could do it if I was careful. I'd been secretly putting away $280 each month in a bank account hidden from everyone, separate from the one Mom and Dad knew existed. It wasn't a lot, but it belonged only to me, untouched by their demands. I studied neighborhoods like Capitol Hill and Fremont, imagining a life where I controlled my own story. Every job application I filled out felt like telling them no. I fixed my resume, showing my new position, my emergency response training, my ability to stay calm under pressure. One hospital, a medium-sized building near downtown Seattle, posted an opening that seemed perfect for me. $89,000 every year, good benefits, and chances to grow. I spent hours making my application letter perfect, my hands shaking with hope and nervousness. This wasn't just about a new job, it was about surviving. I pictured walking into a different hospital, my name on a locker, nobody comparing me to Jake ever again. But worry sneaked into my thoughts. What if Mom discovered my plans? She had a talent for finding out my secrets, then making me feel guilty. Family stays together, Maya, she'd say, as if I hadn't been holding them up for years. Dad would agree with her, giving speeches about loyalty and duty that left no room for my feelings. I pushed those thoughts away, looking at my savings numbers instead. Seattle was thousands of miles away, far enough to break their chains around me. I calculated what moving would cost: $1,800 for a moving company, $600 for apartment deposits. My savings were growing slowly, but I needed more time and more money. I started cutting everything I could, stopped paying for streaming services, ate simple meals at home, sold an old bookshelf online for $65. Each small choice felt like fighting back, like building a wall between their expectations and my dreams. Jake's newest post appeared on my phone, a picture of him at an arcade with expensive drinks, captioned, "Living the Dream." Mom left a heart emoji underneath. I closed the app fast, my teeth clenched tight. His dreams were my nightmare, but not for much longer. I emailed a Seattle apartment finder asking about small places to rent. She replied with options: tiny studios, nothing fancy, but enough for starting over fresh. I saved every message, every apartment picture in a folder I named Medical Files so Mom wouldn't get curious if she looked at my computer. My escape plan was becoming real, each piece a promise I made to myself. I wasn't just running away, I was running toward something better. The hospital in Seattle called for a phone conversation. The hiring person's voice sounded professional and kind. "Your experience looks really strong, Maya," she told me. "We're excited about your emergency work." For the first time in forever, someone saw my value. I hung up with my heart beating fast and added another $120 to my secret account. Seattle wasn't just a wish anymore, it was my future waiting for me. The sound of clinking glasses hit a coming explosion. I walked into my parents' 40th anniversary party, my heart pounding like drums in my chest. The room buzzed with Chicago's fancy people, old neighbors, family from far away, business friends, everyone there to celebrate Mom and Dad. I wore a plain blue dress, simple and clean, but it didn't matter at all. People's eyes slid past me, pulled toward Jake's expensive suit and his loud voice bouncing off the walls. I stood at the side of the crowd, holding my drink tight, feeling like a stranger at my own family's event. Dad stood up, looking important, and lifted his glass. "To 40 wonderful years," he started, his voice warm and friendly, "and to family." Mom sat next to him with a tight smile, her eyes moving around the room checking everything. Then Dad's words changed, getting sharper and meaner. "Some kids make you proud," he said, looking straight at Jake. "Others just take up space." The sentence hit me like a truck, and people started laughing around the room. Jake's grin was instant and cruel, his eyes sparkling as he enjoyed the moment. I felt the whole room squeeze smaller, everyone's stares holding me down, my face burning hot with shame and anger. I could have broken down crying. I could have stayed silent like I always did, but something inside me snapped like a branch. I put my glass down hard on the table, the noise cutting through the chatter. That's perfect timing, I said, my voice strong and clear. Because I got my own place across the country in Seattle. Starting now, the rent, the bills, everything that's yours to handle. The room became frozen. Dad's glass stopped halfway to his mouth, his jaw tight. Mom's fake smile disappeared, her hand grabbing her pearl necklace. Jake's grin melted away, his eyes getting narrow and confused. I didn't wait to hear what they'd say. I turned around, my shoes clicking as I walked away from their table, each step feeling lighter and freer than before. Energy rushed through me, a feeling I hadn't experienced in many years. I didn't turn my head back, but I heard whispers starting soft, then getting louder. Did she really just say that? One guest whispered. They pushed her way too far, someone else said, their voice quiet but sharp. I caught pieces of conversations as I moved through the people. So ungrateful, mean girl, she's absolutely right. The air buzzed with shock, their perfect masks cracking open. I walked past an aunt whose eyes went wide, and a family friend who looked at the floor avoiding my face. They'd finally seen the truth, my parents' unfair treatment, Jake's cruelty, my years of silence. I reached the edge of the room, breathing hard, my chest going up and down. For the first time ever, I wasn't the one shrinking small. Dad tried calling after me, his voice strained and angry. Maya, get back here right now. But it was way too late. I'd said exactly what I needed to say. Mom's chair made a scraping sound as she stood up, her voice hissing my name, but my feet kept moving forward. Jake said nothing at all, his silence screaming louder than his usual mean comments. I didn't care anymore. I'd spent years carrying their wants, their debts, their mean treatment. Now I was finished. The guests' whispers grew stronger, their words mixing pity and anger together. How could parents say that? A woman whispered to her partner. She's been paying for everything, another person said sharply. I saw an older couple shaking their heads sadly, their drinks untouched on the table. My parents' perfect celebration was falling apart, their image damaged in front of their important friends. I didn't need to see their faces to know they were upset and embarrassed. My words had stripped away their act, showing everyone their favoritism. I slipped outside into the cool night, my breathing becoming steady again. The heaviness of their words, their laughter, their control over me, it was gone completely. I'd walked away not just from the table, but from their power over my life. They'd made fun of me one time too many, and I'd turned their stage into mine. The party continued behind closed doors, but it didn't matter to me. In my mind and heart, I was already halfway to Seattle. 1 week later, my phone exploded with lies. Jake's social media post hit my screen like getting slapped. Some people think they're too good for family, he wrote, his words dripping poison. Selfish, ungrateful, destroying us from inside. He twisted the party story into a soap opera, painting me as the bad guy who ran away, leaving Mom and Dad embarrassed and hurt. Comments filled up fast, his friends calling me heartless, disloyal, a traitor to family values. I stared at the lies, my fingers shaking. He turned my brave stand into his fake victim story, and people believed every word. I wanted to fight back, to tell everyone about his years of taking my money, but I stopped myself. His words were a trap trying to catch me, and I wasn't falling in. The next morning, an envelope appeared under my door. Mom's handwriting, neat and careful, covered the paper inside. Maya, what you did at the party was wrong and hurtful, it began. You need to apologize to fix this family. Her letter was a masterclass in making me feel guilty, filled with phrases like keeping family peace and your responsibility. She never mentioned her own cruelty or Dad's, or how they'd embarrassed me in front of everyone. I folded the letter, my jaw clenched tight, and threw it in a drawer. I wasn't saying sorry, not now, not ever. I needed someone to understand, someone who'd actually listen. Emma, my friend from the hospital, met me at a coffee shop that afternoon. I told her everything, the party, Jake's lies online, Mom's guilt letter. Emma listened carefully, her eyes steady, never cutting me off. You made the right choice, she said when I finished talking. They're trying to control you. Don't let them win. Her words felt like a rope pulling me to safety, reminding me of my decision. She told me I was strong, my plan was good, I had worth. Seattle's waiting for you, Emma added, her voice kind and warm. You're so much bigger than their drama. I nodded, my determination getting harder like stone. Emma's support was exactly what I needed to keep going. Later that night, my phone buzzed again. Aunt Linda, my dad's sister, sent a message. Heard you're moving to Seattle. What's going on? Her tone seemed curious and nosy, but not friendly. She didn't mention the party or Jake's lying post, just asked about my plans with suspicion in her words. Pretty big move, she texted. You really sure about this? I looked at the message, unsure if she wanted gossip or actually cared. I answered vaguely. Just time for something different. Linda didn't ask more questions, and I didn't expect her to. She wasn't supporting me, just watching from the sidelines like a show. Jake's post kept spreading wider. His followers kept piling on nasty comments. How could she hurt her parents like that, one person wrote. Spoiled brat, another person added. Each comment hurt a little, but I refused to respond or engage. Social media was their battlefield, not mine. I opened my accounts, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and pressed delete on all of them. The apps vanished from my phone, and with them all the noise and negativity. I felt lighter immediately, unburdened by their lies and hate. My world didn't need their approval anymore. With the online mess gone, I focused on my move. I pulled up my Seattle planning folder, now full of important notes. A new email from the apartment helper confirmed a studio in Capitol Hill, $2,500 per month with separate utility bills. I'd saved just enough money to cover the security deposit and first month. The hospital in Seattle scheduled a second interview, this time meeting in person. I booked a plane ticket for next week, $270 round trip, and started selling my furniture online. My couch sold for $95, my old television for $80. Every sale was another step closer to cutting all ties with them. I spent my evenings packing boxes, sorting through years of belongings, old pictures, cards, memories. They all felt like heavy anchors to a life I was escaping. I kept only necessary things, work clothes, my laptop computer, a few favorite books. Everything else went into boxes for charity or sale. My apartment, once my safe space, now felt temporary, just a stepping stone to somewhere better. I contacted my landlord, telling him I'd end my rental agreement in 2 months. The paperwork was simple, my signature a quiet declaration of freedom. Emma texted me later that week, checking how I was doing. You holding up okay? She asked. I smiled, thankful for her caring. Better than I've been in years, I replied. Her support stayed with me, a reminder that I wasn't completely alone even though my family had turned against me. I didn't need Aunt Linda's approval or Jake's lies or Mom's guilt trips. I was creating a future following my own rules. I checked my savings account, $4,600, enough for the move if I stayed disciplined and careful. I added another $180 from a side job helping a small clinic with their paperwork. Every single dollar mattered, each one a brick in the wall between me and Chicago. Jake's posts and Mom's letter were just noise, not real truth. I wasn't the selfish person they claimed. I was the one breaking free from their chains. 6 weeks later, Jake's world started falling apart. I was packing my final boxes when my phone buzzed with a message. Jake's name appeared on the screen, which was extremely rare. Need to talk, his text said, short and desperate sounding. I hesitated, my finger hovering over the reply button. After all his lies online and his silence at the party, I owed him absolutely nothing. But curiosity pulled me forward. He asked to meet at his apartment, and against my better judgment, I said yes. His place looked like a disaster zone, empty food containers everywhere, unpaid bills covering the kitchen counter. The training program he'd bragged about for months was finished. It's over, he said, his voice flat and emotionless. I got fired. I'm drowning in bills I can't pay. He looked at me with begging eyes. I need money, Maya. A loan just to survive. I stood there completely shocked. He'd spent years showing off his success, building up $22,000 in credit card debt on electronics and bar nights. And now he wanted my savings, the money I'd struggled to save for Seattle. I didn't say no immediately. Instead, I offered to help organize his mess, hoping to understand what happened. We sorted through his chaos, boxes of expensive gadgets still in packaging, receipts for $3,500 spent at clubs, letters from angry creditors demanding payment. As we worked, I waited for an apology, any sign of regret for how he'd treated me my whole life. It never came at all. "You always had everything easy," he muttered, throwing a shirt into a pile. "Nobody pressured you like they pressured me." His words stung hard, as if my years of paying his debts and working myself exhausted didn't count for anything. He still saw me as the lesser sibling even now, even broke and desperate. I pushed aside a stack of bills, my patience wearing thin like old fabric. "You think my life was easy?" I asked, my voice getting sharp and loud. "I paid for your mistakes, Jake. Years of loans, exhausting work while you played the star." He froze completely, his hands gripping a box tight. For the first time ever, his fake mask slipped away. "I was jealous of you," he admitted quietly, his voice barely a whisper. "You always seem to have your life figured out. Your job, your plans. I couldn't keep up with that." His confession hit me hard, not because I felt sorry for him, but because it was the first truly honest thing he'd ever said to me. But honesty alone wasn't enough to fix everything. "You never apologized," I pointed out, crossing my arms firmly. "Not for the party, not for your posts, not for anything you've done." He looked away from me, his jaw tight and stubborn, unable to face his own mistakes. I understood then, Jake wasn't ready to change or grow. He wanted money to bail him out, not to face consequences. I took a long, deep breath, my decision crystal clear. "I'm not helping you this time," I said firmly. "You need to figure this out yourself, stand on your own feet like I had to do." His eyes went wide with shock mixed with anger. "You're abandoning your own brother," he snapped at me. I shook my head slowly. "I'm not abandoning you. I'm finally choosing myself for once." I grabbed my jacket off his chair, feeling the weight of his expectations falling away like heavy chains. He called after me, his voice breaking and desperate, but I kept walking toward the door. I'd spent way too long fixing his problems and messes, and I was completely done with it. Back at my apartment, I sat on the floor surrounded by labeled boxes heading to Seattle. My flight was in exactly 2 days. My new nursing job was confirmed, head nurse position with $91,000 salary. I'd signed the lease papers for a studio in Capitol Hill, $2,600 monthly rent. My savings were stretched tight but enough to begin fresh. Jake's begging echoed in my mind, but it didn't shake my resolve or make me doubt. His collapse wasn't my responsibility or fault, and his debts weren't my burden to carry anymore. I thought about his confession, his rare moment of showing vulnerability and truth. It didn't erase who he'd been, someone who mocked me, used me, then blamed me for everything. But it gave me clarity and peace. I wasn't running away from him or mom or dad anymore. I was running toward something much better, a life where I decided my own value and worth. Seattle wasn't just any city on a map. It was my freedom, my opportunity to build without their dark shadows everywhere. 2 months after the anniversary party, their desperation became obvious and clear. I was sorting through emails when Dad's message appeared suddenly. The subject line was harsh, "Your behavior." His words were ice cold, accusing me of betraying family traditions and values. "You walked out and left us," he wrote angrily, embarrassing our family name in front of everybody important. He didn't mention his own cruel words at the party, how he'd called me worthless space. Instead, he demanded I apologize and come back, as if my standing up was the real problem. I read it one time, my stomach feeling tight and sick, then deleted it forever. His guilt trips couldn't touch me anymore or reach my heart. Days later, knocking at my door interrupted the peaceful quiet. Mom stood there looking pale, her eyes red from crying. "Maya, we have to fix this mess," she said, her voice shaking and trembling. "Come home, please. We can heal together as a family." Her plea sounded raw and emotional, but it reeked of control, not real love. She didn't apologize for their mockery or their years of unfair favoritism toward Jake. I stood firm and strong, my hand on the door frame. "There's nothing that needs fixing," I said, my tone calm and even. I'm done carrying your heavy expectations. She gasped loudly, stepping backward, but I closed the door gently but firmly. Her tears didn't change my mind or sway me. They came far too late to matter. That same week, my phone lit up with much better news than their drama. An email from the Seattle hospital confirmed my official offer. Head nurse, $92,000 annually with full benefits and a moving bonus. I stared at my screen, my heart racing with excitement and relief. This was really it, the key unlocking my new life. I accepted the offer immediately, my fingers steady and sure as I typed my happy response. Seattle wasn't just a dream or plan anymore. It was real and happening, and I was absolutely ready for it. Emma stepped in like a hero and lifeline. She came to my apartment, her laptop open wide, ready to help polish my final paperwork. "Let's make this perfect and airtight," she said warmly but focused. We reviewed my nursing resume together, adjusting details to highlight my new head nurse role and emergency skills. Complex patient care, team leadership, crisis management. She helped me create a moving timeline, flight booked for next Monday, $295 one-way ticket. Moving truck hired for $1,350. Emma's practical thinking kept me grounded and focused. Her encouragement was quiet but powerful. "You're going to do amazing up there," she said with a genuine smile. I nodded, feeling grateful for her belief in me. I turned my attention to my apartment, now mostly empty and bare. I sold my kitchen table for $145, my bed frame for $210. Each sale removed pieces of my old life. The money went straight into my Seattle fund, now at $5,200. I listed my last remaining items online: a desk lamp for $35, a floor rug for $75. Buyers came and left quickly, their cash stacking up in my account like building blocks. I met with my landlord one final time, signing the lease termination papers. "You're really going through with this big change," he said, sounding almost impressed. I smiled confidently, handing him the apartment keys. "I've been ready for this for a long time," I replied honestly. Emma visited again, bringing coffee and a detailed checklist of tasks. We mapped out my first week in Seattle: apartment move-in day, setting up utilities and internet, office orientation at the hospital. She suggested a careful budget for my first month there: $3,100 for rent and all utilities, $450 for groceries and bus passes. Her advice was detailed and meticulous, every single detail thought through carefully. "Don't let them drag you back," she warned, her tone serious and firm. I promised her I absolutely wouldn't give in. Their drama, Dad's angry email, Mom's crying visit, felt like distant echoes from a life I was leaving forever behind. I packed my very last box, mostly just work scrubs and personal essentials. My laptop, now my most valuable possession, held my job offer, my lease agreement, my entire future. I donated old books and kitchen supplies, keeping only what fit in 2 large suitcases. The process was methodical and careful, each choice deliberate and purposeful. I wasn't just moving cities, I was shedding years of their heavy weight. Dad's accusations, Mom's desperate pleas, they were just background noise, not actual truth. The night before my flight, I walked slowly through my completely empty apartment. The walls were totally bare, the space no longer belonged to me. I felt no sadness or nostalgia, only pure relief washing over me. I'd spent too many years attached to their demands and harsh judgments. Now I was cutting the very last strings holding me down. Emma texted one more time, checking in on me. "You all set for tomorrow's big day?" I replied quickly. "More than ready, better than I've ever been." Her support and help with every tiny detail had made this dream become reality. I boarded the plane early the next morning, my 2 suitcases stored safely, my savings account secure. Seattle waited patiently, thousands of miles away, a city where I defined myself on my own terms. Dad and Mom could keep their twisted values, their broken version of what family means. I was building my own version, one where I wasn't treated as second best or worthless. As the plane climbed higher into the sky, I looked out the small window. Chicago was shrinking far below, getting smaller and smaller. I wasn't running scared, I was arriving home. The morning I finally left Chicago, the air felt lighter and fresher than ever. I stepped into my Seattle studio apartment, the silver keys jingling happily in my hand. The space was small and cozy, but completely mine, bare white walls, one single window overlooking Capitol Hill's tree-lined streets below. My first day at the hospital felt like a wonderful whirlwind, meeting new coworkers, organizing my desk and supplies, diving into patient files and schedules. My $92,000 salary felt like a promise finally kept, each paycheck another step toward complete independence. I walked home that first evening, the crisp Seattle air sharp and refreshing against my face, and I smiled wide. This was my life now, built entirely on my own terms and nobody else's. Back in Chicago, Jake's world had completely collapsed around him. He sold his fancy truck, the one he'd shown off as a symbol of his success, just to cover his massive debts. Now he was living back in Mom and Dad's guest bedroom, his designer clothes traded for a childhood room. His job training program failure had spread through Chicago's gossip networks. His once glamorous lifestyle reduced to whispered stories of bankruptcy and failure. I didn't celebrate or gloat about it, I just felt genuinely free. His downfall wasn't my victory or revenge, but it proved his fake life couldn't last forever. Dad and Mom faced their own consequences too. Word about their favoritism and cruel words at the anniversary party had leaked beyond their social circle. Old friends started distancing themselves quietly. Their invitations to fancy galas and important dinners stopped coming completely. Their reputation, once polished by years of charm and manipulation, was now tarnished and damaged. I heard through a mutual family friend that Dad's business partners questioned his character and judgment, while Mom's charity organization board whispered about her unfairness behind closed doors. They'd built their perfect image on control, but it was crumbling under the weight of truth. Escaping a toxic family was the only way to live true to myself and my values. Thanks for listening to my story. So what about you? Have you ever faced family drama like this?